Glacier National Park, August 13, 1967. The night the bears forgot to fear us. They say Glacier never really gets dark, even in August. The high peaks hold the last light like a dying coal, and the valleys stay bruised with violet long after the sun drops behind the Continental Divide. But on this night, the darkness fell absolute. It pressed down on the pines and the lakes, and thin nylon walls of two separate campsites 13 miles apart, as if the park itself had decided to close its fist. No one who was there ever agreed on exactly when the screaming started. Julie Helgeson lay half out on her sleeping bag, one arm flung over her boyfriend, Roy Ducat, both of them laughing about something stupid they'd seen on the trail that afternoon. 19 years old, from Minnesota, full of the careless immortality that comes with your first summer away from parents. The air smelled of wood smoke drifting down from the chalet kitchen and the sharp resin of subalpine fir. A dozen other hikers were bedded down in the meadow nearby, but Julie and Roy had dragged their bags 50 yards away for privacy. They thought the bear that had been hanging around the chalet for weeks was somebody else's problem. The grizzly came without sound. No twig snapped, no huff of warning. One moment the meadow was silvered with moonlight and the low murmur of sleeping bags. The next, a shape the size of a pickup truck detached itself from the tree line and crossed the grass in 4 impossible strides. Julie felt the first blow as a dream, a hot, wet slap across her ribs that knocked the wind from her lungs. Then the teeth closed on her arm, just below the shoulder, and the dream turned real. She screamed once, high and thin, before the bear shook her like a rag doll, and her voice tore away in the night. Roy woke to the sound of canvas ripping and the wet crunch of bone. He scrambled up, shouting, swinging a useless flashlight. The bear dropped Julie, alive, gasping, staring at him, with eyes already glazing, and turned. Roy saw the hump on its shoulders, the silver-tipped guard hairs, the small, rage-bright eyes. He had time for one coherent thought. That's the garbage bear, the one they've been feeding. Then the grizzly hit him in the chest and drove him backward into the dirt. Claws opened his scalp to the skull. Teeth punched through his thigh and scraped femur. Roy felt himself lifted, shaken, dropped. He crawled toward Julie, leaving a dark snail trail on the grass. She was trying to speak. Blood bubbled at her lips. Somewhere above them, lights flared on in the chalet windows. Voices shouted. Someone fired a pistol into the air. 6 harmless pops. The bear paused, looked toward the noise, then lowered its head and went back to Julie. It dragged her by the neck into the brush as casually as a dog carrying a slipper. Roy lay on his back and watched the stars spin. He thought, absurdly, that the Milky Way looked close enough to touch. Then the bear came back for him. What's up, guys? Iceman here. So this recounting is of a horrific bear attack that happened many years ago, and how it all ended is chilling. So stay to the end. I appreciate you all for coming by. Like this video, hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the page, and pull that bell so you're notified next time I post a video, and blessings to my patrons. Links in the description below. And let me know in the comments, what do you think about this style of storytelling? So let's get into this chilling tale. Trout Lake, 12 miles southeast as the crow flies, 3:12 a.m. Michelle Coons couldn't sleep. The air was thick, with heat lightning flickering over the mountains, and the 5 girls in her camp were restless, whispering about boys in college and whether bears could smell menstrual blood, an old rumor that had been circulating all summer. They had seen a grizzly earlier that evening, a big blonde sow with 2 cubs, rummaging boldly through their garbage pit while rangers shooed her away with firecrackers that did nothing but make her sneeze. The girls had laughed them, nervous laughter, but still laughter. At 3:12 a.m., the sow returned alone. She came straight through the middle of camp, scattering pots and lanterns, and went for the nearest sleeping bag, Michelle's. The bag was rated to -20. It might as well have been tissue. One swipe of a paw opened it from throat to groin. Michelle woke inside a red explosion. She thrashed, screamed, tried to crawl out of the foot of the bag. The bear bit down on her back and lifted her clear off the ground, shaking her the way a terrier shakes a rat. The other 4 girls bolted away. Sheila Thompson grabbed a pot and banged it with a knife. Denise Hargett ran for the lake, screaming for help. That was 3 miles away. Pam Irvin and Carol Colden stood frozen, hands over their mouths, watching the bear carry Michelle into the trees like a broken doll. Then, impossibly, the sow came back. She moved with purpose now, almost methodical. She found Pam Irvin trying to climb a lodgepole pine. One blow knocked the girl to the ground. The bear straddled her, bit through her skull, with a sound like a watermelon dropped on concrete. Blood hissed on the hot coals of the dying campfire. Denise made it to the lake shore and waded in it up to her waist, sobbing, calling Michelle's name over and over again. The bear ignored her. It had what it wanted for now. By the time the moon set behind Ptarmigan Wall, 2 separate grizzlies, one at Granite Park, one at Trout Lake, had killed 2 young women and mauled 3 others in the span of 4 hours. No one in Glacier had ever seen anything like it. No one ever would again. Rangers found Roy Ducat at first light, still breathing, his scalp hanging over one ear like a bloody beret. He kept asking for Julie. They told him she was being taken care of, quote unquote. They lied because the truth was too large. At Trout Lake, they followed a blood trail 200 yards into the brush and found Michelle Coons partially consumed, her sleeping bag still tangled around one ankle. Pam Irvin lay 20 feet away, her face unrecognizable. The sow and her cubs were gone, melted back into the vastness of the park, as if nothing had happened. The newspapers called it the Night of the Grizzlies. Rangers called it the night the park bit back. In the weeks that followed, both bears were tracked and killed. The Granite Park male, a 21-year-old boar, gone bad, on shalled garbage, weighed 840 pounds when they dragged him out. His stomach contained Julie's watch, still ticking, and strands of Roy's hair. The Trout Lake sow carried 8 slugs from Rangers' rifles and still charged until the last one took her through the heart. Her cubs were sent to zoos, where they paced in circles for the rest of their lives. Glacier changed overnight. Garbage feeds ended. Bear-proof cans appeared. Rangers started carrying rifles instead of firecrackers. The Park Service commissioned a report, the famous Leupold Report, that rewrote how humans and grizzlies would share the continent, but the dead stayed dead. Sometimes on windless August nights, hikers on the high trail swear they hear a girl calling from the meadows below the chalet. Others, camping near Trout Lake, wake to the sound of something large dragging nylon across the ground. Rangers say it's just the wind in the trees, or a pine marten raiding packs. They say it with the same hollow certainty they used in the summer of 1967 when they insisted the bears were habituated, not dangerous. Glacier is still beautiful. The peaks still catch the last light like burning spears. The grizzlies still walk the ridges, silver-tipped and ancient, keeping their own counsel. Only now, when the sun drops and the valleys fill with violet dark, the park remembers what it is, and so should you. So what did you guys and gals think about that story? I've heard this one before and I decided to retell it again to keep it alive, if you will. But this channel's been a pleasure, and I thank you all for listening, especially those who stayed till the end. And I'd appreciate it if you give me your input in the comments below. What are your thoughts on this bear attack? And like this video. So I'll see you all tomorrow with more chilling tales from the Iceman.